Have you ever stood up from a chair, caught your reflection, and thought, when did my backside just disappear? Maybe your jeans don't fit the way they used to. Maybe you've noticed the sides of your hips look hollow. Or maybe you've been doing squats, bridges, even lunges, and nothing seems to be bringing the shape back. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Millions of adults over 50 experience the exact same thing, and almost all of them are told the same thing: just do more glute exercises, work harder, be more consistent. But here's what nobody's telling you: if you've been exercising and your glutes still look flat, the problem is not effort, the problem is not laziness. The problem is that your glutes have been quietly switching off, and no amount of squats will turn them back on until you fix the real reason they went dark in the first place. In this video, you're going to discover two forgotten movements most trainers never teach and most seniors never hear about. That go straight to the root cause of flat glutes after 50. The first resets the hidden foundation your glutes depend on. The second rebuilds the specific muscle responsible for shape, fullness, and that rounded look on the sides of your hips. No gym, no weights, no equipment, just two moves done correctly that work with your body the way it actually functions after 50. Before we get into it, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now with your first name, your age, and where you're watching from. This is a community of people over 50 who are choosing to move better, feel stronger, and stop accepting decline as the default. We'd love to welcome you in. Now let's talk about what's really happening to your glutes. Why your glutes go flat after 50, and it's not what you think. Most people assume flat glutes are just a natural part of getting older. The body changes, gravity wins, that's just aging, right? Not exactly. Yes, muscle mass does decline with age, a process called sarcopenia. But the specific flatness most adults over 50 notice, especially on the sides of the hips and upper glutes, is not just about muscle loss, it's about muscle disconnection. Here's how it works. Your glutes don't operate in isolation. They're part of a system, a chain that runs from your feet through your ankles, knees, hips, and pelvis. When every link in that chain is working well, your glutes fire properly, stay engaged, and maintain shape. But when one part of that chain gets disrupted, and after 50, one part almost always does, the whole system starts compensating. That disrupted part is your pelvis. As we age, especially with increased sitting, reduced activity, and the postural shifts that come with everyday life, the pelvis begins to tilt, rotate, or shift to one side. Most people can't feel this happening. It's gradual, subtle, but what it does to your glutes is significant. When the pelvis moves out of its neutral position, it changes the angle and tension of the muscles attached to it, including the gluteus maximus, your main glute, and most critically, the gluteus medius. The gluteus medius is the side glute muscle. It sits higher and to the outside of your hip, and it is the primary muscle responsible for the rounded, full shape that most people are trying to get back. When your pelvis is off, the gluteus medius cannot generate force effectively. It doesn't get the neural signal clearly. The brain and the muscle lose their connection, what exercise scientists call neuromuscular inhibition. Your muscle is still there, it just stops responding. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Physical Therapy Science confirmed that individuals with anterior pelvic tilt, a forward tilting of the pelvis, extremely common in adults over 50, showed significantly reduced gluteus medius activation during lower body exercise, even when performing movements designed specifically to target that muscle. Think about what that means. You could be doing squats every single day and your gluteus medius is barely working. The shape won't come back because the signal isn't getting through. A second study from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that restoring pelvic neutral positioning before performing glute exercises increased gluteus medius activation by up to 34% compared to performing the same exercises without the reset. 34%. That is the difference between movement that changes your body and movement that just exhausts you. This is why the two moves you're about to learn are ordered the way they are. The first move restores your pelvic position and reopens the neural pathway to your glutes. The second move builds strength and shape through that now open pathway. Together, they work in a sequence that standard glute training completely skips. Move 1, the standing hip pendulum. Before you can build your glutes, you need to re-establish the foundation they stand on. The standing hip pendulum does exactly that. This is not a strength exercise, it is a recalibration drill, a way of teaching your nervous system where your pelvis is and guiding it back to neutral. Once that happens, your gluteus medius wakes back up and becomes accessible to training again. What this move accomplishes, it decompresses the hip joint by gently unloading one side at a time. It recenters the pelvis over its base of support. It reactivates the deep stabilizer muscles of the hip, including the gluteus medius and the piriformis, and it restores the neuromuscular signal between your brain and your glutes. Research published in Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in 2022 found that single leg unloading drills performed in a controlled standing position improved pelvic symmetry and gluteal activation in older adults after just 10 sessions. Not 10 weeks, 10 sessions. Here is how to do it. Stand behind a sturdy chair and place both hands lightly on the back for support. Your feet should be hip width apart, toes pointing forward. Stand tall, shoulders back, chest open, chin level. Take a slow breath in. Now, shift your weight gently onto your right foot. Let your left foot stay in contact with the floor, but allow it to become light, almost like you're barely resting it there. Feel your right glute begin to engage as it takes on more of your body weight. Hold that position for 3 full seconds. Breathe. Then slowly, with complete control, pendulum your weight back through center and shift onto your left foot. Your right foot becomes light. Feel your left glute engage. Hold for 3 seconds. Breathe. That slow, controlled shift back and forth is 1 repetition. Perform 8 to 10 repetitions on each side. Rest for 30 seconds. Then complete a second set. The key to making this work is slowness. This is not a balance exercise performed for speed. Every shift should take 2 to 3 seconds. You are creating time for your nervous system to register the change, locate the glute, and send the signal to engage. Coaching cues to keep in mind. Keep your hips level throughout. Do not let your hip hike up on the unloaded side. Keep your spine long. Do not lean to one side to compensate. And breathe. Continuously holding your breath tenses the body and reduces neural sensitivity. If you find balance difficult, that is completely normal and expected. Use the chair freely. Over time, as your hip stabilizers regain strength, you will naturally require less support. Why does this matter specifically after 50? Because by this age, most people have spent years reinforcing a pattern where the lower back and the hip flexors do the work the glutes are supposed to do. This drill interrupts that pattern. It asks the glutes to step up gently in a position where they have no choice but to respond. Once you complete this move, your gluteus medius is activated, your pelvis is closer to neutral, and now your glutes are ready to be trained. Move 2, the lateral wall press squat. The second move takes advantage of everything the first move just unlocked. Now that your glutes are switched on and your pelvis is repositioned, you can train the gluteus medius directly and build the shape, fullness, and strength that squats alone could never reach. The lateral wall press squat is a wall-assisted partial squat with one critical addition: lateral hip pressure. That addition changes everything. Standard squats primarily load the gluteus maximus, the large central glute. They do very little for the gluteus medius, the side glute. The lateral wall press squat targets the medius directly by requiring your hip to push outward against resistance throughout the movement. That outward push is the specific stimulus the gluteus medius needs to grow, strengthen, and restore the side hip fullness that flat glutes lose. A 2021 study in the Journal of Electromyography and Kinesiology found that adding lateral resistance to squat pattern movements increased gluteus medius activation by 41% compared to standard bodyweight squats. It also found that wall-assisted versions where spinal position is supported produced higher glute activation than freestanding versions in adults over 55 because the removal of balance demand allowed more neural attention to go to the target muscle. Here is how to perform it. Stand facing a wall about 8 to 10 inches away. Place both hands on the wall at shoulder height lightly. Your feet should be slightly wider than shoulder width, toes angled outward at about 15 to 20 degrees. Take a breath in and begin to lower slowly into a partial squat. You are not aiming for a full deep squat. Lower until your thighs are at roughly a 4-5 degree angle, about a quarter to halfway down. Keep your chest tall and your spine neutral. Do not let your knees cave inward. Here is where this move becomes unique. At the bottom of the squat, actively press your knees outward as if you are trying to push them toward the wall on either side of you. You will feel your outer hips fire immediately. That is your gluteus medius engaging. Hold that outward press for 2 full seconds at the bottom. Breathe out. Then press through your feet and return to standing. Squeeze your glutes at the top for 1 second before releasing. That is 1 repetition. Perform 10 to 12 reps. Rest for 45 seconds. Complete 2 to 3 sets. Coaching cues. The outward knee press is the most important part of this movement. Do not skip it or rush through it. 2 full seconds of lateral pressure at the bottom is what separates this from a regular squat. Keep the wall contact like you are using the wall for alignment, not to push yourself back up. And control the lowering phase. Take 2 to 3 seconds to descend. The slow eccentric load increases muscle fiber recruitment significantly. Why this matters after 50? The gluteus medius is one of the first muscles to atrophy during periods of reduced activity and one of the last to recover with generic training. It needs direct, specific stimulation, not just compound movements that let it hide behind the larger muscles. This move removes that hiding place. It forces the medius to work, and with consistent practice, it begins to restore the side hip shape that has been missing. Together, the standing hip pendulum followed immediately by the lateral wall press squat. These 2 moves form a complete system. The first opens the door, the second walks through it. What changes when you do this consistently? Here is the truth that took most people decades to learn. Your body is not broken. It has not given up. It has adapted intelligently, efficiently to the demands you've placed on it. Sit more, move less, and the body quiets the muscles it thinks you no longer need. That is not failure, that is efficiency. But efficiency can be reversed. Neural connections that have gone quiet can be reawakened. Muscles that have shrunk from disuse can be rebuilt. Posture that has drifted over years can be gently corrected with the right movements done consistently. These 2 moves take less than 10 minutes. They require no equipment, no gym, no special footwear. What they require is consistency and intention, showing up, doing the work correctly, and trusting that small, precise actions accumulate into real, visible change. Most people who practice this sequence regularly begin to notice a difference within 3 to 4 weeks, not just in how their glutes look, but in how they feel. Standing becomes easier. Walking feels more stable. There is a groundedness that returns a sense that your lower body is working with you again rather than quietly giving way beneath you. That is not a small thing. That is independence. That is freedom. That is the difference between a body that catches you and one that lets you fall. You deserve to feel that. And you can starting with these 2 moves starting today. Now I want to hear from you. Have you noticed your glutes becoming flatter over the years? Have you tried exercises that didn't seem to work? Share your experience below with your name, age, and where you're watching from. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this video gave you something useful, share it with someone you care about because this information deserves to reach people who need it. And if you want more science-backed movement strategies designed specifically for adults over 50, make sure you're subscribed because there is so much more ahead. Your best movement is not behind you. It starts now.